Hi everyone, my name is Vinícius Vieira from Brazil. In this talk we'll talk about Dissecting EggHunter on exploit development. I would like to thank the staff of the CIACON for this opportunity to be here today with you. So, for those who don't know me, I am a security researcher and pentester for over 16 years. I am a professor and academic coordinator at FIAP University in Brazil. I am a cyber warfare expert by the Brazilian Army. I have some certifications like OSCP, CVEs, and others. I am a CVE holder and exploit writer. I am a member of DC 5551, the largest DCG in Brazil, and DEFCON RedTeam Village. And recently, I am joined at HINAC project. Hacking is not a crime. Today, we talk about binary exploitation. And for that we will understand what is exploit, what types of exploit. Let's remember a little bit about the fundamental concepts of buffer overflow, CA exploitation, what are EggHunters, and what steps to develop and exploit using EggHunter. But first, why exploit development? An exploit is a piece of software, a chunk of data or a sequence of commands that takes advantage of a bug vulnerability. That is, an exploit is an automated way to exploit a vulnerability. And although you use the term automated, we need to understand the concepts of binary exploitation and what type of exploitation is used to build the code that will automate the exploitation, that is, or exploit. I know that for some I am not saying anything new so far, but it is interesting to conceptualize the issues so that we can reach our goal. Going a little deeper into the exploit theme, we will understand a little more about the types of exploits. According to ExploitDB, one of the largest repositories of public exploits, there are basically four types of exploits. Exploits for web applications, exploit for denial of service, which can be either local or remote, exploit for remote attacks, which generally grant unauthorized access to any system or application, and exploit for local vulnerabilities that generally grant privileged access to operating system for exploiting kernel or end user permission flows. Although there are several types of vulnerabilities for an attacker, the best options is always to exploit vulnerabilities that grant him unauthorized access, either locally or remotely. And one of the most interesting forms of exploitation is through the exploitation of binaries, that is, exploiting the flow of execution of certain applications that allow attacker unauthorized access to a system. And we'll talk about binary exploitation, we are talking about buffer overflow, and more specifically on this talk about the stack-based overflow. According to Wikipedia, a stack buffer overflow occurs when a program writes to a memory address on the program's call stacks outside of the intended data structure, which is usually a fixed length buffer. Stack buffer overflow bugs are caused when a program writes more data to a buffer located on the stack than what is actually allocated for that buffer. So, there are several types of stack buffer overflow exploitations, such as vanilla EEP, overwrite, CH, EggHunters, ASLR, safe SEH, stack cookies, Unicode restrictions, and much more. So, in this talk, we'll comment on stack overflow exploits using CH and EggHunter. Well, so far we have been able to remember some important concepts about buffer overflow, and we can go even deeper into the subject. Let's go. To execute arbitrary code, an attacker put his shellcode in the available buffer space created by the program in memory. What if the shellcode requires more space than the available space in the buffer? This is where the EggHunter technique is useful. EggHunter is a small piece of shellcode which searches for an actual bigger shellcode which the attacker was not able to fit in the available buffer space and redirect execution flow to it. The EggHunter code searches for an egg which is unique string of 80 bytes made up for combining of two tags. A tag is a 4-byte unique string. Usually, attackers consider use strings like egg, 2 eggs, or any other strings which is unique enough to search in memory. An egg is formed by combining 2 tags to make it more unique, so that it won't come across itself while searching in a memory. The egg is placed just before the shellcode, and the EggHunter code is placed in the small available buffer space while exploiting the overflows. So, for this talk, I used VulnHub server, which is an ideal Windows Server vulnerable application for buffer overflow exploits and widely used for those studying for certifications like OSCP. The VulnHub server is available at these links below. But before we go any further, let's analyze the VulnHub server code. Note that is building NC and has an exception handler, right? Certain programs, when created, account for errors in execution by instituting errors handlers, which will allow a program to exit or stop gracefully when an error occurs. According to Corral, the best name of binary exploitation ever, Windows has a default CH structured exception handler, which will catch exceptions. If Windows catch an exception, you see has encountered a problem and needs to close pop-up like this. This is often the result of the default handler kicking in. It is obvious that in order to write stable software, one should try to use development language specific exception handlers and only rely on the Windows default CH as a last resort. When using language EH, the necessary links and calls to exception handling codes are generated in accordance with the underlying OS, and when no exception handlers are used, or when the available exception handlers cannot process the exceptions, the Windows CH will be used on a handled exception filter. So, in the event an error or a legal instruction occurs, the application will get a chance to catch the exception and do something with it. If no exception handler is defined in the application, the OS takes over, catches the exceptions, shows the pop-up, asking you to send error to report to MS, for example. For this POC, we will exploit the daemon command from VulnHub server. At the top of the main data block of the application's main function, or TEB thread environment block, or TEB thread information block, a pointer to the top of the CA chain is placed. This CA chain is often called the FS chain as well. So, on Intel machines, when looking at disassembled CH code, we will see an instruction to move the word PTR from FS. This ensures that the exception handler is set up for the thread and will and we will be able to catch errors when they occur. The opcode for this instruction is 64A180. If you cannot find this opcode, the application thread may not have exception handling at all. The bottom of the C8 chain is indicated by 8 Fs. This will trigger an improper termination of the program, and the OS handler will kick in. In other words, the payload must do the following things: causing an exception. Without an exception, you won't kick in. Overwrite the pointer to the next C8 record with some code. Overwrite the CA handler with a pointer to an instruction that will bring you back to next C8 and execute this jump code. The shell code should be directly after the overwriting C8 handler. To make it easy, let's see this visually. We need to cause an exception, overwrite the pointer to the next C8 record, and overwrite the CA handler with a pointer. So, I will not explain in detail fuzzing because the fuzzing technique is a basic for all types of binary exploitation through buffer overflow. In this POC, using this bool fuzzing script and the immunity debugger against our target, we will obtain the value of our EEP. Pay special attention to the use Shift F7, Shift F8, Shift F9 to pass exception to program message at the bottom of the screen. We see that ECX and EBP have been overwritten with bchars. This seems to align with the third fuzzing payload sent with buffuzz when you look through your command line outputs on your remote attacker. So let's use Shift F9 to pass an exception to the program. Now this is looking more familiar to us. EP has been overwritten by our B values. You will also notice that the registers we previously were able to overwrite have been XOR these again themselves and therefore zeroed out. If you read the current materials, this is explained as a defense mechanism to stop malicious payloads using these overwritten registers to jump straight to shellcodes. In fact, the current materials specify that the very techniques that we are using learning with this point is a direct response and bypass to these very measures. But why does EP now hold for 2, for 2, for 2, for 2? Let's go back to the pointer in your fuzzing when we first crashed the program and go to view and then C8 chain. We get this. So when we initialized overflowed the program, we are able to override both the pointer of the next CH record and the pointer to the exception handler. So since EEP is simple telling the program the address of the next instruction, which case is specified by the CH component, which we just verified both subcomponents are current for 2, for 2, for 2, for 2. The EP is for 2, for 2, for 2, for 2. At this point, we are done with buffers and need to verify that we can override the CH components with an exploit script. So, and now we can get our eggs. This is the basic mechanism of exploiting a stack buffer overflow using EggHunter. When a stack overflow occurs at some point, it overrides the EP register. EP points to the next instruction to be executed. Then we should make EP point to ESP, where our shellcode will be present. In some cases, shellcode might be just above the ESP. In that case, we need jump back and execute shellcode, which is EggHunter. In this case, which searches for egg tag in the entire memory and executes actual shellcode, which is next egg. To perform this, we will need to the following: cause an exception by overflowing the application buffers. The overflow also overrides the CA components. We place a pop-ret instruction in the current CA handler others. The pop-ret instructions place code execution at the pointer pointing towards of the next CA record. This address has been overwritten with instructions to jump forward 6 bytes. After jumping forward 6 bytes, the instruction at this location tells execution to jump backwards 768 bytes. After jumping 768 bytes, we'll slide down a NOP slit to our shellcode at the end of our NOP slit buffer, and finally the program executes our shellcode. Instead of jumping back 768 bytes with our pop ECX decrement jumping to ECX, we could also simply squeeze an EggHunter into our C buffer that we are jumping 6 bytes forward into. Here is what we looked like sitting in the pointer to the next CCH record, which at the time was filled with B values. So, Mona again shows us how awesome it is when we use it to generate EggHunter shellcodes along with a tag arguments that we will prepend for main payload shellcodes. We can use egg-t eggh, which will output us this nice little egghunter.txt. So, putting all together, we now can put in everything we have seen so far in a script to develop or exploit. Let's see how it looks on our exploits. We need to create an EggHunter variable in our exploit script. We create an egg variable or egg tag. We completed our exploit so that it is sending this order: e-values, egg, shellcodes, nch, ch, EggHunter, and c values. That's it. This is the beginning of our exploit, where you are defining the variables. In addition to the targets IP and port, where are defining our ch, nch, and EggHunter, the same we managed to obtain through Mono. Here we define our egg tag in our shellcode. We could use a MS-Venom shellcode for generating yours manually. And now we can create our buffer structure, which is formed by the sequence we have seen before: e-values, egg, shellcode, nch, ch, EggHunters, and c values. And now, so we have a functional exploit in which we can obtain unauthorized remote access to targets through the exploitation of a binary VulnServer using the technique of CH and EggHunter. This is a technique that requires practice and simulation of the concepts presented to develop a functional exploit. So, that is it, guys. I hope I have shared something useful to you. My goal was to present the CH and EggHunter subjects in a practical way so that you can reproduce the steps and carry out not only exploitations, but also be able to develop our exploits manually. I appreciate the opportunity, and there are my contacts for those who want to check. Thank you.